Welcome to another episode of Living the WIT Life. My name is Matt Russell, and I'm the ministry director at WIT Ministries. And I have with me my beautiful bride and co-founder of Pursuit, of WIT Ministries, and of course our Pursuit programs. Uh, my beautiful, I don't really often call her this, but Michelle Russell. Michelle, why don't you say hello and then share with everybody a recent blessing?
Hey. Hello, everyone. A recent blessing for me would be just lately we have a community up here in our area that within the last couple of years has come together, a lot of Pursuit brothers and sisters. And recently we've found some land. I may be taking your blessing that we're now pursuing. So it feels like the vision that we're going to talk about here is coming to life even more. So it's very exciting.
Yes, that I'll kind of piggyback on that. It's not, I'll just say this. From the beginning and seeing where we began, which of course we'll get to the beginnings here, but from where we started to where we are today there's a vast difference. There's so many things, and the opportunity to be able to serve, to see the transformation in people's lives, the redemption, the salvation, the restoration, the freedom from deliverance. There's so many different things that we get to witness. And also, as God started this whole thing, God is now bringing it to the point where we're going to be having um, completed a big part of what He's called us to. So, seeing it all as it continues to grow and continues to happen, and us going across the country, and I know at some point we're going to be going international. So we're pretty excited about that. And that's been a huge blessing. All the recent stuff that's been going on. But this all started back in when I years ago, 2005 or 2006. You'll probably know exactly, um, Michelle, but whatever. 2005, 2006, it happened. Uh, I believe it was in October, but either way, um, it was while I was in the season of teaching and coaching at a private school in the Dallas Fort Worth area, and Michelle was at home with our daughters and homeschooling them, and so that was the season that we were in at that time. But I'll share my side of this, and then Michelle, if you'll finish up sharing your side of this, we'll see if this conversation just can piece together for everyone how we got here today. So it happened when I was teaching and coaching. I was in the habit of fasting on Mondays, and so I would on Mondays they put me in charge of the cafeteria, and so I would be sitting in the cafeteria and just reading my Bible, and of course also paying attention to the kids, but or the students. But I was reading my Bible, and as I was reading the Bible, it just wasn't anywhere in particular, or it might have been, and I just didn't catch it. But I had a vision. There's times that, yeah, I'll daydream, but I had a vision while I was reading the Bible. I had a vision of a building, and the building was like a house, but way bigger than a house. The feel was really a ranch, a um, you know, rock and wood, and just real. I don't even know what you call that, but almost ranch style in the decor. And I went through and I saw some parts of it that were crystal clear and some parts that were a little bit hazy. But I could definitely tell the shell of what it was. But I just assumed that I saw it on Extreme Home Makeovers, and I was just remembering back to something I saw there. So I dismissed it. I was done, and then I continued on with my day. When I got home, Michelle will take over for her side of it and all the way to dinner. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so it must have been around that same time because it was lunchtime. We lived in an adorable tiny little house, like 900 square feet or something, very small. And so I was in the kitchen, which was a bit like kitchen, living room, dining room, and
It was open
making
concept, so
yeah,
you're in all the rooms.
yeah. My girls were right there at the dining room table waiting for, lunch. I was cooking lunch, and we have four daughters. One thing that I really strive to be better at now is journaling, but I really wish like I had stopped and written down the exact date and that kind of thing. I don't really have it either, but we can just kind of piece it together based on the time frame of how old our girls were. So, anyways, our girls were very young. We have four. They were homeschooled at the time, so there I was making lunch, and as I was standing in the kitchen, um, just suddenly I was just kind of I just saw it was like I was not in the kitchen anymore, and I just saw this huge house, and like Matt said, like he thought extreme makeover because that's how it was. It was big, and it looked a lot like the inside looked a lot like the house. The best I can do is liken it to the house on on
The, the Sound of Music.
The Sound of Music. Thank you. The Sound of Music. Like you walk in, go down into a big living room, and then there's stairs up and on and on. And so I thought, oh wow, that's incredible. And yes, we had talked a little bit about, maybe at some point tearing down our little house and building something bigger. So it was on our mind, but nothing like this. And honestly, I was like, we were still having our children at that time, and I thought, oh my gosh, are we gonna fill a huge house with kids? Like, what is this? It was so big. So I was excited to talk to Matt when he got back home. I mean, he was a teacher, so we didn't really talk during the day. But when he got home, I said, I don't know, like take it from here, but I said, you will never believe the like house or I think we called it a house at first, the house that I saw today. And then immediately,
Yeah, I started describing what I saw,
mm,
which I'm sure would be considered rude by some. But I cut Michelle off and immediately started describing what I saw, where you walk in, there's double doors as the front door, and you walk in, and there's steps going down to a great room, like a living room, big meeting area that goes all the way up. And I just started describing it with stairs on either side behind the door, which doesn't even really make sense, but
mm-hmm,
behind the door to where they could go up to a second level that has balcony rails so that you could actually look over into that great room. And they're big pieces, like straight ahead, there was a fireplace that went all the way up, and it was all white brick, but it was, or rock, but whatever. But it was a two-way fireplace.
mm-hmm,
So you had this side and the other side, and then there were walkways on either side of it to move on. There was something over to the left. There was something over to the right. But upstairs there were definitely rooms, and you could see the door to those rooms, and then um, it just continued on. It continued on into this cafetorium type room, with a big, great room, massive room to where you've got a stage, but you also have the ability to do different kinds of events in there with a commercial kitchen off of it that's kind of hidden. And so many different pieces of this. And as I'm describing it to her, what was your reaction, Michelle?
I was like, wait, stop. Are you making fun of, I know I remember saying, are you making fun of me? Like, did I already call you and tell you that? I mean, we didn't much talk on the phone, but I guess I could have. I was so surprised. I mean, he must have heard it from me because of the way he was describing it exactly as I had seen it, the same ways that I saw through it. And so I was like, I thought he was just kind of teasing me, like, you already told me, but no, we hadn't talked that day. So he had seen the exact same thing. And we were just like, whoa.
Yeah. So we knew then who the vision was from. We knew this was of God. This wasn't us. But again, is this what? I mean, that's a lot, a building.
Hmm.
to tear down and rebuild. And there's got to be something more to this. God would not just give us a vision of a house for us. I don't think. If He's going to give us a vision, it's going to be something for the kingdom. So we knew the source, but we started trying to pursue, trying to figure out what is it that's supposed to go in this building. And so we tried quite a few different things, but one of the biggest things that we did is we started a school. So
Yeah, so yeah, Matt was a teacher, like you said, and so and our whole family is sort of education minded. I mean, like I said, I did homeschool our girls. I had always wanted to be a teacher, so um, like growing up and everything. And so I think just in that was a lot of our lifestyle was around education. Um, we started down the path of feeling like the Lord had called us. Him to step away from the school he was at and for us to step into that school. And I still feel that was the step he was asking us to take at that time. It wasn't the full vision, but there were certain things as I look back that we had to be it was just as important that we were pulled out of what we were doing as it was that we were stepping into what we were supposed to. And I think that was the thing, as we were kind of comfortable where he was, and we could have stayed in that, but we had to come out of that. So, okay, step one, let's come out of that, start a school. So we did, and it was successful. So the Lord's hand was on it. I mean, we ran that for 4 years, and we had students every year. We graduated out several students, and so it was successful. But in that, we wanted to bring on a few other teachers. And so when we did, Matt took a little bit different role, less of the teaching and more of administration. And as we were thinking, okay, we know where we're headed with this building and everything, thinking that the building was a school at that time, for sure. But yeah, you ended up going back to,
yeah,
I don't want to say
I
the
was
name, but he was a
yeah
manager at the store. Yeah.
yeah. So there's big box retailer that I had worked at for a long time, helping me to finish up school and support us while I was finishing up school and moving into teaching. And even the first few years of teaching and coaching, I was doing junior high youth as well as working full time as management within this big box retailer. I was an executive with them. So I was there a while, many years, and had started just as a regular old team member and promoted up a few times. And then whenever it was just okay, we're good. Now I'm fully teaching, coaching, and it was after graduation, and it finally reached that point where I ran out of um, the time for me to take a leave of absence. So I was working as much as I could, but then if when I needed a break or during a really busy time, I would take a leave of absence. And then I would come back and then take a leave of absence. So I did that during the first few years. And then I ran out of the time, so I couldn't do that. It was no longer an option. And I could not continue because, I mean, I was around the clock. The last year and a half, I was teaching and coaching during the day. I was doing junior high youth Sunday night and Wednesday night, and I was working full time overnight at this big box retailer. So I definitely there are a few days a week I did not really have many hours to sleep, if at all. So
Mm-hmm.
there's no way I could continue that. God sustained me through a year and a half of it, but then we were stepping into my last semester. And my last semester was a summer where I was taking 18 hours distance, and I did two on campus, and it's a hour and a half to the campus, but two on campus um, sessions with 15 hours each, which actually was 3 hours above what their maximum was that I could do at a time. But they overrode it. They said, that's fine, you do it. And then I graduated, and then that next year was when I stepped away from that big box retailer. But then, as she's saying, when we got the school started, I really heard very, very vividly. I picked up on Holy Spirit directing me to go back over to that store. It's across the street from where we lived. And so I was thinking, that's weird. Why do I need to go back to that store? I mean, I wasn't avoiding it, but I didn't really go since I left. I hadn't gone shopping or anything. I've been so busy working and stuff, and it just the groceries and all that. I wasn't a part of that because I was so busy. So I went over to the store. I walked in to the HR department where the same HR person was there when I was there and originally hired me. So I went into her office and she said, "Shut the door." So I closed the door and then she started crying. And I was like, this is weird. So I was thinking maybe Holy Spirit wanted me to go over there because she needs me to pray for her, counsel, whatever it is. I was just kind of sitting there in wonder. And she said, "Please tell me that you're coming back."
Mhm.
And I said, "Whoa, we've got this school we're running. I'm now like the administrator because the teacher was handling all this stuff, and I was helping out here and there, but I wasn't needed as much as the school because everything was going so smoothly. So yeah, it would be kind of a weird scene for me just to sit around, but I had time now, so I said, "I don't know about that." I said, "You don't have a position for me." And she said, "Actually, I can make one today." And I go, "Whoa." I said, "You don't need to fire anybody on my." She goes, "Well, there's a few people that are about ready to be fired anyways." Okay. I said, "Let me talk to my wife and pray about it, and I'll get back with you." And then we discussed it, and we thought, why not? Why not bring in an additional income on top of what we're already doing? It would only help support, and I'm not really needed there. In my in between times, I can go over there because I'll still have a day off during the week and every other weekend off. So I was like, that, okay, it'll work. So I went back in there, and they hired me back as an executive, and they paid me at the highest rate for my level, which was kind of amazing. And then almost immediately, the conversation changed to, um, we're going to prepare you, train you up to be a store manager. So I would be in charge of store, be in charge of the entire store. And so that process started. But part of that was moving. They said, well, if we relocate you to Amarillo, Texas, from the Fort Worth area where I was, if we move you over to Amarillo, Texas, and you turn that store back into a Target or the big box retailer, if you turn it back into what it's supposed to do, it had been a red store for a long time, and it just continuously was red. It did not feel like what that store should feel like. It felt like one of those lower in whatever, almost like resale shop. It didn't feel right. I mean, I was as we went and visited and walked through, there were aisles that were empty and had been empty with just a little sign saying under construction. But it was just that they were trying to get things going, but they were slow at transitioning from one thing to the next. And then all that product that would be on that shelf or those aisles was all in the back of the house. There was nothing that was out for sale that should be available because they needed some organization. So we did that. We prayed about it. And we did it, and we transitioned and moved our whole family up to Amarillo. How was that for you, Michelle?
Well, I'm like, yeah, wait. I mean, yes, that is what happened, but so that's another thing where it's like the Lord had to do some serious, I mean, it was pulling us out before putting us in kind of thing. It's like that was the part that was like what you need to understand is that was our hometown where we lived then. my grandparents lived two doors down. My sister was a mile one way. My mom was a mile. I mean, my dad was just like, we were very close. We're a close knit family. Matt's family is not too far away either. They weren't in the same neighborhood like mine, but like I mean, we raised our kids with our nieces and nephews and that kind of thing. And so, um, I mean, it wasn't just like, hey, here's a cool opportunity, let's go. It was like, Amarillo, there's nothing there. Like, this is what in the world? I mean, because we came from the big city, like, so it was like, um, I don't know. It was kind of exciting because it was new, but at the same time, logistically, it was a decision that we didn't really actually take lightly. There was a lot of tears, especially when we had packed up, and my family was all standing on the porch, and we're all crying. I mean, it was a really big decision, but I think the thing is that um, I think the other thing to understand is that we were a very young family, and our income was very small. Like I said, our house was small. Everything was small. We didn't make a whole lot of money, but it was like it was okay. I mean, but it was like tripling. Like, we will offer you triple what you're making now if you'll go to Amarillo. And then the next step for you, if you go, will be to be the store manager eventually, there or anywhere else. And they even said it'll be 18 to 24 months. If you do this and get that store up and running, then you can come back, or you can basically, and I hear this a lot now from people, and I'm like, like, write your own ticket. Like, you can just basically decide where you'll go next. And so in our mind, it was sad to go, but we knew we were coming right back. A year and a half, 2 years, we'll be back. And that was kind of what we left with, because we never lost the vision, but I would say, like, at that point we were thinking, okay, maybe this is a career move. And I mean, right? I mean, we were like, let's go up there. We're going to make a lot of money, and it's got to be cheap up there because it's like a country. Like, we didn't know it's not really a country town, but we didn't really know. So, I thought, oh, great, we can have a farm, we can do anything, but no, that's not accurate. Anyway, but so yeah, it was definitely more involved than just like, hey, here's a cool idea, let's go. There was some excitement of just a new thing, but also a lot of emotion, and a lot of was sad. But again,
Mm.
we thought we were coming right back. So,
Oh yeah, and in that mindset, there was, the vision. Okay, maybe this is just a season, and then when we get back to whatever it is, we were going to leave the school with the person that we hired really to replace me, but that didn't last. They completely lost all of the student population the next year, and it was done. So um, while we were up there in that second year, I believe, it might have been in the third year while we were still there. They kept holding this carrot out there of being store manager. Now, they weren't doing things and manipulating, and they weren't deceiving me. I was literally being led that direction, but there was something that kept stopping it from happening. And they said, go check out Santa Fe because it's still within the region, and you go check out Santa Fe, maybe that's the store you want, or the Amarillo store, or one of the ones in Lubbock, or even the one that was right across the street from our house. That one was offered. And so they said, we're doing so much better. And we did. We got that store to where it was operating green, which is what they consider, of course, a good standard. So it was operating, sales were up, and stuff was looking good, and all of our visits went extremely well. So we were moving forward. But I went on a men's retreat, and I will definitely use that word, retreat. I went on a men's retreat, ministry as usual, where went to Red River, which was I'd never. We had been to Red River. This is my second time to be there. We were there for my 40th, but
hmm.
went to Red River and was staying in these apartment like cabins, and um, this was our second time for this men's group from church to go to Red River. So it wasn't my first time to be there. It was the second time to be there. And as I'm sitting there, one of the many times we're just sitting around with our feet up, I went outside and I was just, praying and thinking. And I said, maybe we're supposed to stay in Amarillo. And so I just had that feeling. And as soon as I did, the vision came back vividly, clearly, with more clarity in it, to where I saw more of what it was. And it was obvious this isn't a school. And so then reached out to Michelle and how'd you take that, whatever I called?
Um, well, I think at that point, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what I said was that I was good with staying too, right?
Yeah, you
I
actually.
probably, I honestly, I'll be honest, like I went back and forth. It's hard because, we miss a lot of family stuff. And so I've had seasons where I'm like, yeah, no, this is great. And then seasons where I'm like, oh, I'd really love to move back home. At this point, not anymore. I'm settled, but it did take me a little while and I went back and forth a little bit with it. So, but I think, yeah, at that time you asked me and I was like, yeah, I feel
Well,
good about saying too.
plus we figured out that our both of our perspectives were different about the reason for trying to get back.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying. My mind was we need to get back to the area, back to Fort Worth, because all your family was there. So your family's close knit, and I felt like I got to get my wife back to her family, and with the kids and let them grow. That was really the big perspective. And you shared that. Well, you really thought that moving back, coming here and doing all this, and moving back would just continue with my growth to being a store manager, going back closer to where there's more stores and et cetera, et cetera. So we realized that we were not having the same perspective there, and that helped us because then we go, oh no, if we're doing this, um, well, when we did this, this is what happened. As soon as I said before the vision, I got a little bit backwards there. Before the
Right.
vision became clear, I definitely got a word from God saying, your season, this season that I'm in working for that big box retailer, this season is over.
Mm-hmm.
And that was very shocking. And I said, okay, God, if this season is over, then I'm going to need you to come with the next season pretty quickly because I'm the sole provider and working and bringing in all this stuff. And, or not necessarily, there were times that you were working different jobs, but you went from working jobs to being at home to work. It all depends on, again, seasons. But
Mm-hmm.
during this season, I,
You definitely made like most of the money in either
yeah, I
way.
definitely
Yeah.
did. And so that would be a huge change for us because
Yeah.
now we're renting a home. We've got all these, I mean, not huge, we never had massive things that we did, but I've got a new truck.
Mm-hmm.
There are things that were new. And definitely our budget was a little bit bigger than it was before. Um, so after that, called Michelle. And then while we were talking to each other, and during that time, I remember the vision coming back crystal clear. And that was when the vision returned, was in that conversation and realizing, okay, we're going to stay. Boom. I was like, oh my gosh. Then that's why God moved us to Amarillo,
Yeah, and
was
like
to do this vision.
yeah, that's the thing is, and it's crazy because, that job was just a temporary thing. It felt like it was going to be pretty permanent and give us a really comfortable and secure life. And I mean, I'll just say it. They actually like let you go. Which so the Lord had, I guess, prepared you, or maybe, or was it after that the
Oh,
Lord?
Well, here's what I did with unfortunately, I think we all, but it doesn't matter if we all, but I know I'm not alone in this, but it was obvious that God had called me
Yeah.
to end this season. But this
Yeah.
was in October, and it was very much so right before the biggest season of the year for retail.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, and I was in charge of logistics, and I had the largest team, and I mean, all the other ones were dependent on my area. So I had like 200 employees I mean, it was crazy. So
Yeah.
had a big responsibility, and I said, okay, God, I will, but after this season.
Mm-hmm.
And then being part of logistics also means I'm in charge of the transitioning of different areas whenever they move from one season to the next. They tear down and they put up the next one. So we tear down all of the uh, holidays of Christmas and stuff, and then we move right into putting up Easter, and then start building the Somerset. And it was when I first got home, it was still Halloween. So that's the second largest. So, I mean, I kept saying, okay, God, I will. I'm going to leave, but I'm going to leave, but I'm going to do this. I kept dragging it out. Um, and it was all the way, I believe it was all the way to April. And I was dragging it out. And then through me doing the right thing and following all procedures, I did everything right. And but I received a complaint. I passed it on and allowed them to deal with it. But there's some circumstances that I didn't realize in the event, some inappropriate relationships, and some people got a little bit upset about the fact that I drew attention to this one person. So they had to be let go. And in retaliation of that, that was where they also let me go, which was completely wrongfully terminated. It doesn't matter. But God was
Yeah.
basically, the way I say it is, God pulled the rug out from underneath me. He
Well,
said,
yeah.
no, I've been telling you it's time to leave.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's it. I mean, you got nothing but accolades. I mean, I'm biased, whatever. But
Mhm.
turned the store around. It was I mean, it and so I mean, clearly again, the Lord pulled us out of that. Okay,
Yep.
that's not where you're at anymore. I needed you up here. You weren't going to get up here running a school down there. So that was the travel plan. Like
Yeah.
I
That
need
was the
you up there.
transition plan for
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's easy to see now, but I mean, it's again sort of like with the move from Fort Worth, it's like, we still have to be honest about it. And it was like, it was a blow. We were like, what are we going to do? We have
Oh, yeah.
zero income.
Well, the big thing at that time was going back to the Red River men's retreat.
Yeah.
Um, I said, if, on the last day that we're there, if this is what you're wanting me to do, then I need to know what's next for provision.
Hmm.
And when I got home, there were so many different things that happened at once. I was still on vacation, but my boss reached out and said, "Hey, they want you to be in Dallas tomorrow," which they don't do things as disorganized as that. They're usually very organized. Now, of course, what I see in them today is totally different, but then they're very organized in everything that they're doing. And so for them to say, "Hey, I want you to be tomorrow at a training," was a little not normal. So when I showed up to the training, I wasn't really needed at the training. Some stuff that I was doing, they were wanting me to be there as witness to answer any questions and kind of show them and talk to them about what we were doing to be getting such growth and such good results. So I was just there as an extra, like he's already implementing this stuff, so I was there just to be able to answer questions, I guess. But it was not from the district, it was from the regional manager, so even higher. So I went out and did that, but I really didn't. I mean, it was a waste of a trip, but it was a nice trip because, they paid for everything, the hotel and the rental car. But I received a phone call right when I landed in Dallas of someone that had a opportunity for me to go and be able to do some work on the side in financial services while I was still at Target or at the big box retailer. But while I was still there, I'd still be able to do stuff on the side. So this is amazing. I mean, I can see God all over this and just this confirmation of Him telling me this is the plan. So I've been doing it here and there, really kind of just small things, not big things. But then the day that I was let go, as soon as I got home, I changed my clothes. I got out of one monkey suit and put on some nice clothes, and immediately went to work
Mm-hmm.
because I said I've got to. I've got to. Now, in the meantime, we cut all of our expenses way down to where we had minimal. We weren't, we got rid of the cable. We got rid of, all the extra stuff that we had was gone. Um, so we were being proactive as well as reactive. So then I got ready, went to work, and busted my tail. And that month, I was actually in a company that had been around since like 2008. The company itself, 2002, but this part of what they're doing since 2008. And this is like 2004? No. 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, like 12 or 13. It might have been 2014. Whatever. So this was a while later. And I had um, I had received notification that I was the top income earner
Mm-hmm.
in the entire company, in the nation, 40,000 plus employees in the nation, the first week of my second month. So I had the first week, I was number one. And I made more in that week than some people do in a year. And after that, of course, it kind of fell back into place to where I wasn't number one, continuing. I didn't win the month, but it was showing you're on the right path. Keep doing this. And so I did that. I focused on financial services for a while, and that sustained us. But it
Mm-hmm.
was still a building process because that's 100% commission. So there's no base or anything to that. But then through that process, relationships, people that we'd run into, we started going to the church that we did this men's retreat with.
Mm-hmm.
We met some people that we had known, or that we didn't know them, but that were involved with the ministry that we were involved in back in Fort Worth. And it was a freedom ministry. And so then in discussion, we went, maybe we're supposed to start a freedom ministry up here and using these people who also have the experience to help build that. And then that was the final step where the wholeness of the entire vision became clear. And it was mind blowing. During that process, did you have a different recollection? It was a while ago.
Yeah, I did. I guess for a long time I struggled with trust, so I would always go back to work and I was I usually like my jobs and like the people I work with and everything, but I was just getting in for almost like the first time ever. I tried a few things that was like, this is not a good fit. And so that was kind of frustrating because I was kind of going from thing to thing, which I don't really like. And, um, but in that, one of the things that I tried was working like as a call center agent from home, but I couldn't work from home because part of one of the things that we did when we I mean, yes, the money did come in from that, but again, 100% commission, it's kind of hard to settle into that. So we actually left our little rental and we lived in a camper, a 40-foot camper for 2 years, and camp hosting at a gorgeous state park, but still. So that was part of it too. Is it was just like a really humbling time also. Um, and I just I just require, like, for my sanity, some financial security. So I just kept going to work. I was like, and whether I was supposed to or not, but my whole point was I couldn't work on the phones and the computer in our camper because there wasn't good enough electricity. I mean, not electricity, like Wi-Fi. So we rented a little office in town, where Matt was running the financial services, and I rented the little office right next to him as well. And I was trying this phone. It was just really one of the worst things I've ever tried to do. I'm gonna be honest. It was medical insurance, like, claims and stuff. Like, I was like in tears every day. So that didn't last very long. But anyway, nevertheless, I just wanted to say that because we were in kind of an office together, and I was able to watch him, you, you were like, hi, yeah, I guess I'm talking to you. I was able to watch you just full of faith. Um, there was like, I'm almost gonna cry. Like, um, and with just passion and just not wavering, just sitting down at your computer and typing this thing out. And every time I would go in, you're typing this thing out. Um, and there was a few people, that with us from the beginning. First with the vision back, I don't even know, 10 years or more before that, before, he's sitting down typing out what's the beginning of pursuit is what I'm getting at. But, there's been people with us from the very beginning that we shared the vision with, and they've been with us all along. But there was a few men, close friends, who he would reach out to. He would type out some things that the Lord was giving him, create sort of this, and I honestly, I didn't even really know. He would tell me a little bit, but I guess my faith was wavering, and I couldn't fully grasp what he was even doing, if I'm honest. So I would love to say that, I gave him my full support, and he, he had all the support he needed, but I didn't understand. I couldn't really wrap my head totally around it. So he would tell me a little bit, and I was like, that's great. And he'd reach out to a couple of the men, but I also remember, if I'm honest, you getting frustrated because you couldn't always get people. Everybody's busy, and so a lot of it, I mean, this isn't usually what we say, but if I'm thinking back to the real start of it, is you were faithfully just listening to Holy Spirit and just typing away as he gave you the prompts, and this incredible, like, programming that, you counseled with a few people, and they were like, yeah, that's good, and maybe gave some feedback and things like that. And that's how it got built out. But even whenever you guys were like, okay, we're going to do our first men's event, I was still like a little unsure about it. I'm like, okay, here's some food, like, I'll prepare some meals. But I still didn't really understand it fully. And even though I had been on, women's events too, but honestly, I had been burnt by a women's event. So that was part of it too, as I was like, that's great. You guys do your men's event. That will be amazing. I'll be here when you get back. And so, that's the reality. That's my perspective. That's my honest perspective, is I've never seen anyone with so much faith. Well, maybe people running out to the mission field, but other than that, like, just daily, somebody just in there. And especially, you are not a computer person. Like, say that too,
I was
just
very fortunate to figure out how to turn this on. And
Yeah, it's not like you were an office person who that was even the norm, but you were dedicated and you were in there just typing away, and it's really looking back a really beautiful thing, but I wish I had been more understood better and more supportive, but it took me a couple of years to come on board. So that's my perspective of that season.
oh yeah, and putting the curriculum together, like she's talking about, that was when, um, really there were a few, but the primary, Jared and Troy, those are the two that we get together, and there are a few others that we kind of involved in it, like Gary was another one we kind of involved in it. Um, but as we're getting this all this stuff formulated, work together. Oh, and Travis, we so there are a few,
If
but
we
the
left you out,
actual the three was Jared and Troy and myself, and so
right?
we would formulate, and then we turn around and say, okay, guys, to everyone, go and do this. Here's a section. Go out, away, in a quiet place, do something. And we went through the meditations, and then we get back together and we go over, how that went for us, and or we'd go over a different session of read this and get out, come back, and then different aspects of what we teach with the Pursuit for Truth events, which that's the first level programming that we have is the first level of program. That would be better. We're not programming people, but the program is what nonprofits are focused on. And the purpose of the program that we have is to help people to find salvation and redemption and restoration and healing and freedom. So those things are the big part of what we're doing with this program. So we focused on the men's program first. We had the men's curriculum, and we got the very first men's event. After we had gone through all the stuff, brought it all together, we had the very first men's event, which had three total participants. And we were looking at 18 to 24 being a good number, and kind of had all this stuff on the financials of it and how we could at least just break even so it wouldn't be a big cost. And it was three people. We had more than that, but this is right also. This is the very first event that this facility has had since the COVID shutdown. So this was the first event they had, was our event, and it was our first event. So COVID slowed us down as well. And there's some other things that also slowed us down after we got the curriculum ready and we were ready to go. The whatever. But this was the big thing was COVID. So now that we're going in, we had like 12 people, but it on the day of became three. So those three show up, and then we had 6 people that were going to be on the serve team.
Yeah.
But one of them hurt his back, so there were just 5. So we had 8 guys at the first one, 5 on serve team and 3 participants. And in that, because it was such a small number, we just decided we're going to do it with them. So we had already gone through the curriculum and stuff as individuals separately. And we had our wilderness and we had those things were done separately. But we went right alongside with them this first time and did all of it taught them as we were participating. So we screwed so many things up in that one too. We were very fortunate to have a second men's event.
Yeah.
Because at the first men's event, we'd say, okay, everybody, let's go meet in the main room. They go sit down, and then we come in and go, okay, we're going to go out here and we're going to talk about this for a moment. We'll be right back. So then we would leave while they're all just sitting there, the 3 of them staring at each other. There's no TV, there's no clocks, there's no watches, there's no phones. And they're sitting there just looking, and we take 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and we would discuss what we're going to do next. Then we would come back over, so we're all on the same page again. Who's going to do what role? Okay, so we come back, and we go through the next session. And then as soon as we're done, okay, everybody take a break. And then as soon as they come back, okay, we're going to leave for 30 to 40 minutes and we're going to do this over and over. It was crazy. We actually, Gary, Troy's father, Gary did a phenomenal job helping us to make sure that we were fed. But he was cooking eggs because we didn't have all the stuff to be able to do things, and there was no kitchen. We had to do things extra because there's just a sink and a fridge. There's no kitchen and a microwave, and we didn't want to mess up on the food. We wanted it to be quality food. So he's
No grills
scrambling
yet.
eggs, huh?
We didn't own any grills yet, so that
No,
was
we
that
didn't own any grills. We didn't. We were doing everything with crock pots and
yeah,
roasters.
what we
So
had at home.
he because the roasters are only hot on the sides, not underneath. So he was scrambling eggs on the side of a roaster, and one guy was holding it up while he's stirring it and scrambling it, and then pulling it out while another guy's holding another bowl. It was comical. But it was a 4 day event. We got all the way through. It was a big success. And not because of how well we did, but because Holy Spirit covered for us. So that was in 2020. In October of 2020, we had our very first men's event.
Mhm.
And then we had the next year, I think we did two. And the next year, I think we did four or five. And then we just grew it. But the first women's event was actually in 2022. How did the first women's event go?
It actually went really well. I was very nervous. I think we all were. There was a few of us who were like, okay, we're willing. I don't think I really had a choice because of who I'm married to. So it wasn't like, so I could be scared. That's fine, but here you go. But and also, just drawing back to what I said before, I dragged my feet. I mean, you started mentioning pretty early on, okay, well, we're going to do a women's one next. And I even know that I've said, well, this is really good for men. I think maybe this could just be a men's thing. And yeah, I just really dragged my feet on doing it. I've grown so much, but that's where I was then. And so, but even with us being nervous and trying to understand what we were supposed to do, we got as much information as we could at the beginning. We didn't have all the materials that we have now. So a lot of it was just kind of like, oh, you just do this, oh, you just do that. And so just like learning from the men what we would just do this and just do that. We did it, and to the best of our ability.
I did field a couple of phone calls in that process, as well
Yeah.
as because of circumstance, things being forgotten, which it
Hmm.
happened a lot.
Hmm.
Like we forgot to show up with, oh no, we need to bring paper towels, we need to bring whatever. So we forgot this whole meal. So
Yeah.
whatever it was, we were bringing stuff back, but also there was a newborn that was kind of involved in bringing back and forth to the mommy who was there serving. So we were up there, and it was kind of comical because it's like, well, what about this? Well, what about this? Because
Yeah, what do we do now?
it
We're
took
fixing to
us
do this.
back to the first event.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah. And yeah.
go ahead.
Actually forgot what I was going to say. Go ahead.
Okay, so we had the first women's event in 2022. We had the
Mhm.
first marriage Pursuit for Truth event. So we have the men's Pursuit for Truth going. We've got the women's Pursuit for Truth going. And then we have the very first marriage Pursuit for Truth in 2024.
Mhm.
And then in 2025, we had our very first second level event, which was a marriage unity. So the men's and women's events are typically a lot more people and a lot more intensive. The marriage Pursuit for Truth is great because you're there with your spouse, but it's also difficult because some people they struggle with getting childcare or something like that. So they're kind of like it was in the beginning, just a little bit smaller in groups. So that we're still having those, but we have learned that those individual events really is that's where it's at. So once you've gone to a first level event, no matter what it is, you're eligible to go to a second level event. So we had 8 couples. I think we did. 2, 4, 6. Yeah, because I remember the tables on Saturday night. There were 2 at each. We had 8 couples that were there for the very first ever second level event. And it was phenomenal. Lots of positive feedback. Um, and so it was just launching us into the next season. Now, this whole time, we're still looking for that building. We're
Mm-hmm.
still looking for the land to build that building. And we've had a lot of things that God has shown to us that'll be a part of what we're doing. But we still never had that trigger of getting us actually to it. Like we have land in Oklahoma that's some family land that has been highlighted to us and will be a part in the future. We've had some land over near the Dallas Fort Worth area that's 10 miles from Troy's house, and that's still something that's been highlighted to us that can definitely be, but it was getting us to also think bigger. So that's a big possibility. Then there's other pieces that we are looking in different regions of the country, but it was actually at the last men's event, the very last men's event that we had before this recording. We had an opportunity where the facilitator was, or the administrator, and then one of the servants were, in all those roles, they don't matter. You'll learn them, but whatever. The servant, one of the leaders went to another one of the leaders, and they said, "Hey, since we have Matt and Michelle both here,
Mm-hmm.
this is an opportunity." I actually, one of the guys prayed for healing for my knees because I'm forever. I don't know. 15 years ago, I was told that I'm due for a double knee replacement, and so I've been walking and living with 90% bone on bone and just constant pain. But I at this last men's event, I went over and asked a guy if he would just pray for healing in my knees, which has been amazing, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
God definitely healed my knees.
Yeah.
But right at that point, we're finishing up what we're doing. And then I go, and there's a chair, and, it's in the evening, and it's, they don't know what time it is, but it was still earlier than most, but it was there. It was at the end of the day, we're tired. And so that servant, the same guy, he put a chair out, and I just sat down in the chair, said, "Do you mind if I just sit here for a moment?" And he goes, "Oh my gosh, perfect." And he got a second chair.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Michelle, come here and sit." And so it was a huge blessing. Now you're getting me all tearing up, but the whole room, all the leaders, all the participants, there's like 50 men there. They all came and prayed over Michelle and I for different things. And as Stephen would be the one, if you know Stephen is the one who's heading this up. And Stephen just said, "Okay, anything else? Anything else?" And then we'd pray. They were all praying for us, huddled around us. Yes, ma'am?
Which I just wanted to interject that Stephen was that one that I said from the very beginning. There's been some people with us and some from very early on, but I think Stephen was actually the first person who had learned about the vision. And I just want to tell this real quick because it's so amazing. He was like 15. He was one of Matt's students, and Matt was drawing or you were drawing the vision on the board right after we had seen it so that you could
Yeah, but
see it in
on
person
Monday
and
we saw the vision. On Tuesday in my off period, I was drawing it on the board. Yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
when he the class. And so Stephen's been with us from the beginning. So very special that he had called us up to pray. Yeah,
Oh
go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah, that was big. And then he
Mhm.
also was one of the 3 on the first event. So he was at the first event and has served on as many as he's been able to since then. So
Mhm.
many. But anyways, so with the prayer, he's like, "What else? What else?" And I was just, we've been praying for this for a long time. It's something we've kind of been aware. It's been an opportunity for improvement that we get our own facilities. And so I just said, "Why don't y'all pray for land?" And he goes, "Oh my gosh, great idea." So they prayed for land for the ministry and for our family. And then they, you know, prayed over us. We were done. And then Jared and Troy were both there as well. And they sat them down and prayed over them. And so we prayed over Jared and Troy and the other founders, and prayed blessings over them, for their family, for all this stuff, and as well as the continuation of that prayer being included in for land. So that was on a Sunday. Or that was on a Saturday. I'm sorry, a Saturday
Right.
night.
Mm-hmm.
Monday after the event, we had one of our local guys receive. Someone came to him, not related to Pursuit, and said, "Hey, I heard that you guys are looking for land," and then brought a piece of land to our attention. And so that guy just kind of held on to it for a little while, but then during that week, he received people calling, financiers calling out of nowhere and saying, "Hey, you know, I'd like to invest in something like that." And he had people who could do it and pay for the whole thing all up front reaching out to him. And he's still running his business. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just like his focus just went right on the land. And so we've been in that season, and we are currently in the process, which we've been in the process for a while, but this is different. We've been in the process of looking and been in the process and trying to brainstorm for ways for us to achieve and complete it. But this, we are now in the process of acquiring the land.
Yeah.
And that is way, and of course, on this land, we will build that building, which will be our own facilities to where we'll be able to host all of our events there and many other different types of events there. Um, but that's kind of the whole point. We want to take this chance, this opportunity to share with you where we've been, what's brought us all the way to where we are today, and the season that we're currently in, but also it applies to all of us. This applies to all of us. Joseph is one of my favorite characters in the Bible, and Joseph, God gave him a vision. God gave him a vision, and being 17 or being young and not really mature, he went out and just told all his brothers just out of excitement, which made them jealous. And he went and told his parents, and then he had another vision. He told them the next. I mean, so he was sharing the vision, which ended up leading to him being thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, in charge of Potiphar's house, thrown into prison, all the way to when and the whole time he did not pursue the vision. He didn't focus on that vision. He was just, it said that in each situation, the Lord was with him. He was just focusing on his relationship with the Lord. And God continued to bless him through that. So then he finds himself put by Pharaoh second in charge of all of Egypt, because Pharaoh had a dream that he interpreted. And then he said, "That's great. I'm putting you in charge of it." And so he was now second in charge of all of Egypt, all the way to the point where at one day in the 6 years or 7 years after 7 years of plenty, we're into 7 years of famine, which was part of Pharaoh's dream. And he's sitting on his throne, and he looks down in the court, and his brothers are there kneeling before him, which was the vision. And then he recognized this was the vision. So we've been holding on to this vision, not trying to force it, but knowing that God's going to have us go through this. But the whole time we tried our best to continue to just focus in on God and continue. There's times that the vision we completely, it was in the back of our minds, not a focus. But since we had that moment where that Red River phone call, we've been focused in on this, and it has brought us to where we are today. Many of you have received callings. Many of you have been given visions or dreams. And oftentimes we're so excited about those things we don't know what to do with it. But Michelle had some great perspective of for her different things that she's experienced. So share with that a lot of what this journey has really shown you in this.
Yeah, I that was kind of it for me is just realizing that the Lord sees you. He he wants to do this with us. So he has plans for each of us because um it's just like with Adam and Eve, we can just look back and say that's what the Lord intended, that he would walk out with us every day. And it wasn't that, it was supposed to be relational. And so um I want everyone to know we have this cool story, and especially looking back, and we have so many pieces of it now. But if you had heard just the beginning, it would have just looked like, hey, we have this thing. Like, are we gonna have 50 kids, or is it something else we didn't know? And so yeah, no, we didn't. We just had the four. But it can be such a small thing. On this last event, just one of the cool things is I feel like over my life anyway, I've shut down some of those things like I shared for a long time. Maybe it was part of a lack of trust and some other things, but the Lord speaks in so many ways to us. And I just have recently walked through a really hard season with him where he, like kind of a refiner's fire kind of thing, where he just shook some stuff off of me and I came out of it just really completely different. And now my eyes are open. I'm able to see some of those things that I shut down before. Very sometimes really simple things, things in I would rather tell a whole story than just say this and this and this little thing, because that's not really going to make sense. So I'll just kind of leave it at that. It can be very simple things. And so I want to just encourage you to just be looking for those things and listening for the Lord. And even if you don't understand it all the way, just to sit with him and let him guide you through it. Even if it seems scary, move away from your family, do this, do that. It's really beautiful. Not that we're completely on the other side. We haven't built this building yet, so there's more to the story. But yeah, just knowing that we all have a story, and the Lord's wanting to just be with us and do this with us. So all for His
Yes,
glory, all for His purpose.
100%. So with that, you may be given something. Well, you all have been given something. But sometimes we've received a calling and we don't even realize it. We receive things that we're just weren't prepared for it. I thought that I was just seeing, something. I was daydreaming about something I saw in Extreme Home Makeovers, the show. So, when you start to realize this is the Lord, it may be something that He's showing you, a puzzle for you to work out and piece together. And then you will have something, because he calls many things. He needs all of us. He doesn't need any of us, but he desires all of us to help him in his kingdom work. And he's given each of us a part of it. But it could also be that your puzzle piece, or your puzzle that you're working on, is actually a big puzzle piece to an even bigger vision. And you're just working on your part of it. That's why having community and being able to share, hey, this is what the Lord has shown me here. This is what the Lord has shown me there. It's not for us to be built up. It's for him, his kingdom to be built up. And he may have some other people working on a puzzle that eventually that puzzle that they're working on is going to link up with yours. And so that's where we are now, is that we've got so many different people from across the country. We're doing pursuits all over the country. And we're going to be adding more locations. And then we're going to be looking at having headquartered regional areas across the country. There's so many things that are on the horizon. But don't be afraid. Now, Holy Spirit will direct you in when to share and who to share and how to share. But You need to at first document everything, date it, and put a time on it, and describe it so that later you pick it up and you may go, "That's confirmation. What just happened today is confirmation of what he told me back then," or another piece to the puzzle. So continue to do that, and then as Holy Spirit does tell you to share, don't be afraid to share. Don't think, well, this is weird. This isn't normal. People are going to think I'm strange. It was a dream. It was so abstract. There's so many weird things. Share it. Share it. Because there may be a piece of that for you that other people can confirm. Or there may be a piece of that in a whole bigger picture. So hopefully, with this podcast, you were blessed, as I know that we are. I love doing podcasts with Michelle. I'm sure there's going to be more to come to where we're going to do some podcasts together and talk about some topics. And then, of course, we'll have the women doing a podcast with Michelle, and we'll have some of the men doing podcasts with me, but we'll also have that together to where we can continue to tell the story and help us all to grow. But I hope with this one, you something blessed you to the point that it helped you to better understand how to live the WIT life. So thank you for joining in, and we love each and every one of you, and look forward to the next time. Be blessed.